Most players grind aim trainers outside of CS2, but if you want fast in-game improvement, you need to be using the best workshop maps for aim training. Today, I'm showing you exactly which maps will level up your mechanics fast, no wasted time. I'm Louie, and in this video, you'll learn how to structure your training with maps like Aimbots, Aim Trainee, and Recoil Master for flicking, tracking, and spray control. Timestamps are in the description if you want to skip ahead. If you're ready to start hitting cleaner shots and ranking up faster, let's get into it. Starting off with Aim Trainee version 3, this is the newest version of one of my favorite workshop maps, and he's actually added a lot of cool features. So starting off when you spawn in the map, you're going to see the normal aimbot sitting right in front of you, where you can pretty much just shoot around, practice your strafes, your sprays, pretty much do the normal thing that a lot of people like to do when they warm up inside of Counter-Strike. Now there is a lot of other things that you can add in here, where you can make the bots move to practice some tracking. You can make it only T-bots, or you can make it only CT bots as well. There's also your aim challenges, there's platforms for the different elevations, and you can even add little peek walls if you want to, practice just peeking and pre-firing with your nice crosshair placement as well. But what's really cool about this map that I like is the two little aim sections on the left and right. So the first one is a 2D aim trainer. Now I talked about how if you think differently about Counter-Strike, how it's just a 2D aim trainer, this is one of the best ways to practice that, because you're just going to be sitting here and aiming at these dots, shooting back and forth, pretty much just like you're playing in like aim labs in a sense. And there's also other things that you can do in here, where you can change the spawn orientation, the different challenges. You can change the size of the dots. And what's really cool about this one is also the health. So if I make the dots a size 13, I can make the health maybe like 5. So you can see that it's going to take a couple bullets to shoot. Or if you struggle with flicking and bursting, something you can do is just change the health of this and then flick and then just spray at this dot. And this will really help you practice your recoil control and especially your burst, because you're barely going to be pulling down, and it's going to help you flicking to targets and have really good control of your spray. Now the other cool thing about this map is over here, which is the 3D aim trainer. As you can see, this ball is 3D, and we all know that Counter-Strike is a 3D game. So this may help you a lot more than if you can't really imagine it as a 2D aim trainer. And this is essentially literally just the same thing. It's just a 3D ball. So if you do struggle with aim trainers because they're all in a 2D view, this is a good training map that you should be using, because this is going to be the closest way that you can really practice aim training for Counter-Strike, just because this is a 3D trainer. Now this map is called CS2 Labs, and the reason why it's called this is because this is the most similar map to aim labs that there is inside of Counter-Strike. When you spawn in, you're going to see there's a lot of options. Now I turned the speed to 0 just for the sake of this video, but in a normal situation, it's really good to practice just your speed and having this up. But there's a lot of cool things over here that we can change, where we can turn off the HUD, we can turn off the view model, and you can see we can literally just leave the crosshair pretty much just like it was, playing like in aim labs. Now, one of the best settings in this map that I think there is the micro adjust, because a lot of people struggle with the micro adjust, where it's just little flicks when you're playing on this map. And this is something that a lot of people aren't really good with inside of Counter-Strike, just because people really like to practice a lot of their flicks. Now, even though this is a little bit fast, it's really good practice just to make sure you can hit these tiny little flicks. But there's also other game modes in this map as well, where you can practice flicking, where you can flick to these big targets as well, which is what a lot of people love to practice. And you can see how similar this map is to aim labs. So if you don't like to play the aim trainers outside of Counter-Strike, this is probably the best map for you that you can be playing, just because of how similar these maps are to the aim trainers. And you're also using the Counter-Strike mechanics, where you can even practice strafing back and forth, where you're trying to counter strafe and flick to these targets. And this will really help your mechanics develop inside the game. And I also think that this is a really good warm-up routine as well, because the other cool thing about this map is that it's very similar to the YPRAC maps, where they even have like the mass clicking like this, or if you just want to really try to warm up your flicks, you can just clear all these balls like this as fast as you can. And this is just a really good basic warm-up that all you guys should be doing. Or if you don't have a warm-up, really try to incorporate this map, because this is the best way that you guys can train the mechanics of your aim inside of CS2.
Now before I get into the next tip, let me tell you about SkinsMonkey. Is a CS2 skins trading site marketplace that provides an instant way to get new skins. The favorite thing about SkinsMonkey is that I can trade skins that I no longer want and trade it for a skin that has equal value. If you use code LouisCS2, you get a $5 bonus on your first trade. And if you want to buy skins, you can get a 30% deposit bonus bonus plus an extra 5% using my code. The link is down in the description. Thank you Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video.
Now, Aim Challenge is another really good basic warm-up map where when you spawn in, you're going to see that there is 4 different sections on the map. Now, the reason why this is a good warm-up is because you can literally just go in order of these and then just say your warm-up is pretty much done because it takes less than 15 minutes. So the first one we have is the 100 bots, where you're going to just try to shoot 100 bots as fast as you can. Now, you can warm up with these just strafing back and forth, or you can start bursting if you want, or you can literally just stand still and just try to shoot these bots. Now, we all know this is a basic warm-up like on a map called Aim Bots, but this is just something that's a little bit more advanced just because of all these different sections. Now, once you finish with the 100 bots, if we were saying that this is a warm-up or even if you're aim training, you can go over here to the intents, where it's just going to count down and you're just going to be flicking at these dots as fast as you can. Now, you want to make sure that you're doing it very quick, because if you don't do it fast enough, you can see that this bar is just going to rise up on the left. So you're really practicing your speed, or either you're training it and doing this at least 5 times, or maybe you're honestly just trying to warm up and just loosen your wrist. This is a really good section that you guys should be using. Now, after that, we can go over here towards Frenzy, and you're going to see it's going to count down again, and it's just going to be 3 dots on the screen that you're just going to be flicking to. Now, this is all timed as well, so once you're done, you know, it'll tell you all your stats. But this is essentially your grid shot like in Aim Labs, where you're trying to shoot as fast as you can, just, you know, pretty much warming up your wrist again, or just training these flicks. And what I really like about the Frenzy is that they're not really big flicks. A lot of the times, like you can see here when I'm practicing the 100 bots, there's flicks that are like really wide where you're almost using your arm. But with the Frenzy, you can even back up or go a little bit closer if you want. And it's pretty much just wrist movement, which is realistic in game instead of out of game, where scenarios like this might be times where you're really trying to over flick, which is something you don't want to overly practice. So this is why this Frenzy part is very important. And this is why these 3 sections here are very important, because it's mostly just wrist movement instead of arm movement. But once you're done with that, you can go over here towards Cross. And this is going to be where you're shooting the middle and then just shooting the other white dot. And what makes this really good is that it's resetting you, so you can really practice your muscle memory, because this is almost like you're playing at headshot level, and then maybe you see someone and you have to flick, which is really good because it's resetting your aim. And I think this is something that a lot of people should be doing. And even Smooya a long time ago said that if your muscle memory can hit all these shots, you're pretty much golden with your aim. So this is something you guys should be drilling, or at least running at least 3 times if you are warming up. But if you are training, practicing this section specifically at least 5 times is very important. Now, this map is called Haze Bot Aim Training, and you can see it's pretty much just like the fast aim reflex map, where these bots are just running around and you just have to pretty much practice your tracking, which I think is very good. But what's really cool about this map is the difference of scenery, where it's not just some like default aim training map. You actually have some good visuals to look at, where you have like some nice mountains in the background. Your bots are running here in water, and I think it's a really good different change, because a lot of the aim trainers, a lot of the aim maps are just default looking maps. So if you guys don't like those looks, this is a really good map for you. Now, in this map, there is some settings as well, where if you look down, there's this little setting thing that you can shoot. You have all your choices of guns, and you also have some different options where we can disable the fog, where if you want, you know, somewhat of a more visual look where you can actually see the bots in the distance, you can do that. There's the fog range as well, where we can change how close the fog is, where maybe we want to really play for sound and listen for the bots to run at us. We can change the barrier where it disables this, and we can also disable the death run, and even put in columns as well, where if we want bots to kind of run behind these, so it would look something like this, where these bots are going to now be running at us. But the only change is now, since I turned off the death line, you're going to see that the bots are literally just standing here. So if you're not really that fast and you do want to make sure that you're finishing these kills, you can just turn that option off. This map is called DHL CT Defense. Now, what's really cool about this map is that it's going to be practicing your CT side holds, and it's also going to give you a little rank on how well you are holding in that map. So you do have difficulties that you can change, and you also have all of these maps inside of the active duty. So if I want to click on Mirage, I'm going to spawn in, and it's going to give me a buy time. So I can sit here, buy my armor, make sure I have all my nades, and the timer is going to be counting down. And now the bots are going to be coming from all different directions. So you're going to want to make sure that you're able to hear, and the bots are also going to shoot back. So you can see there's a couple bots coming out of jungle and ramp, and then there's also one coming from mid site, and now the round is over. So the goal here is to literally just stay alive and just try to kill all these bots and make sure that you're using your sound. Now, it is kind of difficult because the bots are coming from a bunch of different directions, but it's really good to just practice on how to stay alive. So even if I went over here towards train, I'm going to load in, choose all my weapons and my guns, and then I just want to choose a really good good spot where I know that I can stay alive. Now, what's really important about this as well is to make sure that you are using utility, because it's going to help you block a lot of the angles. Oh my gosh. So if I was in a weird scenario like how I saw a bot over here in front of E-Box, I could lay down a smoke on the right and just swing and kill him. And now the next round is over, and I can even play around this smoke as well, just to make sure I'm practicing really trying to defend the site. And even though it is a little bit difficult, it's going to really train the way that you are playing on your CT side. So as long as you're using utility and really practicing your movement, using objects around the map, this is a good map to really practice your CT side defense. Now this map is called Ball Pop 2.0 Aim Training, and it's essentially just like Aim Labs, but there's a lot of different options in here, where if we start with the default classic, you can see I'm going to come up on this little stand, shoot this soccer ball, and there are these, huge orange balls that I can just shoot. Now, what I don't like about the default settings specifically is how wide the flicks are, because again, I love to practice in-game situations, and you can see that this is very not in-game. So one of the best settings you can do on here is the micro, and if you want to even go a little bit more in depth, like we can, hide the weapon and do all that stuff to make it more like Aim Labs. But when I walk up playing the micro shot, you're gonna see that this is more in-game situation, where I'm playing these smaller flicks. And this is what you really want to practice when you're aim training, because this is going to be more in-game instead of like these huge arm flicks that a lot of the aim maps like to practice. Now there is different modes where we can turn on infinite, we can turn on the max amount of balls, the scale. There's a lot of different cool settings that you guys can play on here, like pop shot, where if you want to try to be quick, the balls are going to grow really big, ayo, and then you just want to shoot them with a timer where you're trying to do it for speed. So if you are looking for an easier aim lab alternative inside of Counter-Strike, I would definitely recommend checking out this map below down in the description.